built for seasonal hands. Logan hadn't used it in years, but he kept it maintained out of habit. The inside smelled of cedar and dust. "It's perfect," Claire said, setting their suitcase on the bed. "Thank you." Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Lily explored the cabin, running her small hands over the pine furniture. "Do you live here all alone?" she asked Logan, who stood awkwardly in the doorway. "Just me and Rusty," he answered. "And the horses," Lily added seriously. "And the horses," he agreed. Claire began unpacking their meager belongings. "I meant what I said about working. I can help with the horses, cleaning, whatever you need." Logan nodded. "We'll figure something out. You two get settled. Come up to the main house when you're ready, and we'll talk." Back in his own kitchen, Logan leaned against the counter, trying to process this unexpected development. Daniel had a daughter, a niece Logan had never known existed. The resemblance was subtle but unmistakable. Something in the shape of her eyes, the curve of her smile. Rusty whined at his feet, sensing his disquiet. "I know, boy," Logan murmured. Wasn't planning on company either. An hour later, a knock at the door announced their arrival. Lily had changed into a faded blue dress, her wild curls somewhat tamed. She beamed up at Logan. "Your dog is the nicest dog I ever met," she declared. Rusty, traitor that he was, had positioned himself firmly by the child's side. "He seems to think the same about you," Logan replied, stepping back to let them in. His house wasn't much, practical and plain, with furniture that had seen better days. But the large windows framed the mountains perfectly, and afternoon sun streamed across the worn wooden floors. "Beautiful view," Claire commented, standing by the window. "Best part of the place," Logan agreed. He made them lunch. Simple sandwiches and lemonade. Lily ate with the unself-conscious hunger of childhood, while Claire picked at her food, clearly exhausted. "So," Logan said finally, "Colorado." Claire met his eyes. 8 years ago. Daniel was competing in the rodeo circuit. I worked the stables. It was brief, but... She glanced at Lily. "Meaningful." "He never knew?" Logan asked quietly. Claire shook her head. "By the time I found out I was pregnant, he'd moved on to the next town. I tried to find him a few times over the years, but rodeo people don't stay in one place long." "No," Logan agreed. "They don't. When I heard about the accident, Claire's voice faltered. "I should have tried harder to find him." Logan studied his niece, who was now sharing her sandwich crust with Rusty. Daniel wasn't much for settling down, or responsibility. "He talked about this place, though," Claire said. "About growing up here. He made it sound magical." Logan snorted softly. "Rose-colored memories. Our father was a hard man. Ranch life isn't easy." "No life is," Claire replied simply. After lunch, Logan showed them around the property. The barn with its smell of hay and leather, the corral where he trained horses, the workshop where he built custom saddles that sold for top dollar to wealthy collectors. It wasn't much of a tour, but Lily treated each revelation like a discovery of buried treasure. "Can I pet them?" she asked, eyes wide as they approached the fence where several horses grazed. "Some of them," Logan said. "Not all are friendly to strangers." He whistled, and a chestnut mare lifted her head, then ambled over. "This is Penny. She's gentle." Lily stretched her hand out tentatively. The mare sniffed it, then nudged the small palm with her velvety nose. The girl's delighted laugh echoed across the pasture, startling a pair of magpies from a nearby tree. "She likes me," Lily breathed. "Smart horse," Logan found himself saying. Claire watched them, a complicated emotion crossing her face. Lily's always loved horses. Has that stuffed one since she was tiny. But we've lived in apartments mostly. City life. As the afternoon wore on, Logan found himself showing Lily how to offer an apple to Penny, how to speak softly so as not to spook the horses. The child was a quick study, solemn in her concentration. Claire helped feed the other horses, her movements confident and practiced. "You really do know your way around horses," Logan observed. "Told you," she said with a small smile. "I grew up on a small farm in Nebraska. Horses were the only thing that made sense to me." By evening, Logan found himself inviting them to dinner at the main house. He wasn't much of a cook, but he managed a decent pot of chili and cornbread that Lily declared was the best dinner ever. As dusk fell, painting the mountains in purple shadow, Claire insisted on washing the dishes while Logan sat on the porch with Lily. The girl had 1,000 questions about the ranch, the horses, the stars now appearing in the darkening sky. "Did my dad ride horses here?" she asked suddenly. Logan paused, searching for the right words. "He did. Daniel was a natural rider from the time he could walk. Our mother taught him before she passed." "Was he brave?" Another pause. "Very brave. Sometimes too brave for his own good." Lily nodded, processing this information about the father she'd never know. "Mom says I'm brave too." "I bet you are," Logan said softly. Later, as he walked them back to the cabin, flashlight illuminating the path, Lily's small hand found its way into his. The unexpected contact sent a jolt through him. How long had it been since he'd held anyone's hand? The trust in that simple gesture left him momentarily speechless. At the cabin door, Claire thanked him again. "We'll be out of your hair soon," she promised. "No rush," Logan found himself saying, surprising them both. That night, sleep eluded him. Logan sat at his kitchen table, old photographs spread before him. Pictures of 2 boys on horseback, grinning wide under the Wyoming sun. Daniel had always been the wild one. Fearless, reckless, brilliant in his way. Logan, 4 years older, was the steady one, the one who stayed when Daniel left to chase rodeo glory. Their last conversation had been an argument. Logan warning his brother about a particularly dangerous bull he planned to ride. "You can't keep tempting fate," Logan had said. Daniel's response, "What's life without a little risk?" 3 weeks later, he was gone. And now, a piece of him lived on in a little girl with wild curls and solemn eyes who slept in the cabin a stone's throw away. Morning brought rain, a gentle summer shower that painted the world in shades of green and gray. Logan was up before dawn as usual, checking on a pregnant mare in the barn when Claire found him. "Early riser," he commented. "Farm girl," she reminded him. "Never could sleep past sunrise." They worked side by side, comfortable in the quiet rhythm of morning chores. Claire moved with confidence among the horses, her hands sure and gentle. When the rain let up, Lily appeared, rubber boots splashing in puddles, Rusty at her heels. "Can I help too?" she asked. Logan showed her how to measure out grain for the horses, her small face serious with concentration. "You're doing a fine job," he told her, and her answering smile was like sunrise breaking through clouds. After breakfast, Claire used Logan's phone to call the mechanic in town. Her expression grew increasingly troubled as the conversation progressed. "What is it?" Logan asked when she hung up. "The transmission is worse than they thought. Parts have to be ordered from Salt Lake City. It'll be at least a week, maybe more." She twisted her hands together. "We should find another place to stay. We've imposed enough." "You're not imposing," Logan said, surprising himself with the conviction in his voice. "Like I said, no rush." Relief and gratitude washed over Claire's face. "Thank you, really." The days fell into an unexpected pattern. Claire proved herself invaluable around the ranch, taking on tasks without being asked, anticipating needs before Logan voiced them. Lily followed Logan like a shadow, asking endless questions, absorbing everything he taught her about horses and ranch life. On the 3rd day, Logan found himself showing her how to groom Penny, lifting her small body so she could reach the mare's back with the brush. "Gentle, that's it," he instructed. "Long, even strokes." Lily's concentration was absolute, her tongue caught between her teeth as she worked. "Like this?" "Perfect." That afternoon, a neighbor stopped by, Marshall Townsend from the next ranch over. The older man raised an eyebrow at the sight of Lily playing with Rusty in the yard. Something you forgot to mention, Hayes? He asked dryly. Logan explained the situation in brief terms. Marshall studied the little girl thoughtfully. Spitting image of your brother around the eyes, he observed. Life sure takes some unexpected turns. That it does, Logan agreed. Later, as storm clouds gathered on the horizon, Logan found Claire on the porch of the guest cabin, watching Lily, who was teaching Rusty to fetch a stick. Storm coming, he said, settling into the chair beside her. Might be a big one. Claire nodded, hugging herself against the cooling air. Lily's afraid of thunder. Main house has better insulation, Logan offered. You could stay there tonight if you want. Claire glanced at him, a question in her eyes. I'll take the couch, he added quickly. She smiled slightly. Thank you for everything. You didn't have to do any of this. Logan watched his niece playing with his dog, her laughter carrying on the wind. She's family, he said simply. The storm hit after dinner. A Wyoming summer tempest with rolling thunder that shook the windows and lightning that turned night to day in brilliant flashes. Lily, dressed in borrowed pajamas too big for her small frame, trembled with each thunderclap. It's okay, Logan assured her, as they sat in the living room. Just the mountains talking to each other. What are they saying? Lily asked, wide-eyed. Logan considered this. Probably arguing about who's tallest. Lily giggled despite her fear. That's silly. Mountains are very competitive, Logan said solemnly. Almost as bad as cowboys. When a particularly loud crash of thunder made her jump, Logan found himself telling stories of his childhood on the ranch. Adventures he and Daniel had shared, scrapes they'd gotten into and out of. Claire listened too, curled in an armchair, her eyes soft in the lamplight. Did you and my dad fight a lot? Lily asked during a lull in the storm. Logan considered his answer carefully. Sometimes. Brothers do. But we loved each other even when we disagreed. Why didn't he ever come back here? She pressed. The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. Logan glanced at Claire, who nodded slightly. Permission to tell the truth. Your dad and our father didn't get along, Logan explained gently. And after our father died, well, Daniel thought there wasn't anything here for him anymore. Was there? Lily asked, with a child's unerring instinct for the heart of things. Logan looked around the room. At the home he'd made, the life he'd built, alone but for a loyal dog, and the memory of a family that had slowly slipped away. I'd like to think so, he said finally. But sometimes people can't see what's right in front of them. When the storm finally passed and Lily had fallen asleep on the couch, Logan carried her to his bedroom, tucking her beneath quilts his mother had made decades ago. The sight of the small figure in his big bed stirred something profound in his chest, a feeling he couldn't quite name. Back in the living room, he found Claire standing by the window, gazing out at the rain-washed night. She adores you already, she said quietly. She's never taken to anyone so quickly. Logan didn't know how to respond to that. She's a special kid. Yes. Claire turned to face him. Logan, there's something I should tell you. The seriousness in her tone made him brace himself. The truck breaking down wasn't entirely bad luck, she admitted. It was on its last legs when we left Denver. I knew it might not make it all the way. To where? Logan asked. California. I have a job offer at a breeding stable near San Diego. She twisted her hands together. A fresh start? Logan nodded slowly. That's a long way from here. Yes. Claire hesitated. There's more. The reason we left Denver so suddenly. I was engaged to a man named Robert. Successful, charming, everything I thought I wanted. Her voice hardened slightly. Until I saw how he was with Lily. Cold, controlling. When she disobeyed him, She shook her head. I ended it. He didn't take it well, started showing up at our apartment at my work. The police said they couldn't do anything until he actually did something. I couldn't wait for that. Logan felt a cold anger build in his chest. So we ran. So we ran, Claire confirmed. I didn't plan to burden you with this. I just needed a temporary safe place while I figured out the next step. Logan was quiet for a long moment, processing this new information. Does he know where you were headed? I told no one about Daniel's brother in Wyoming. It was just something I remembered, a story Daniel told once about this beautiful ranch and the brother who never left it. The silence stretched between them, filled with the soft sounds of the house settling after the storm. You're safe here, Logan said finally. Both of you. The relief in Claire's eyes was palpable. Thank you, but we still need to move on soon. I can't build Lily's life on someone else's charity. It's not charity, Logan said, more sharply than he intended. She's my brother's daughter, my niece. Claire studied him, her expression unreadable. Yes, she is. The next morning dawned clear and brilliant, the storm-washed world gleaming in the sunlight. Logan rose early as usual, but found Lily already at the kitchen table, Rusty at her feet. Good morning, she said cheerfully. Can we see the horses today? Logan couldn't help but smile. I think that can be arranged. Over breakfast, he found himself making plans, showing Lily the new foal born last month, maybe letting her sit on Penny's back if Claire approved. Simple things that suddenly seemed important in a way ranch chores hadn't in years. Claire joined them, hair damp from a shower, looking more rested than she had since their arrival. The mechanic called, she said. Parts should be in by Friday. Friday. 3 days away. Logan was surprised by the disappointment that settled in his chest. Well, he said, keeping his tone light, plenty of time to show Lily around properly. That day, he took them to his favorite spot on the property. A hilltop overlooking the entire valley, the Tetons rising majestic in the distance. They had a picnic lunch there, sitting on a blanket spread over sweet summer grass. That afternoon, Logan showed Claire and Lily the gentle slope that led down to a creek where wild trout darted between smooth stones. Rusty splashed gleefully in the shallow water, making Lily laugh. The sound echoed against the hills, bright and clear. This was our favorite place as kids, Logan explained, picking up a flat stone and skipping it across a deeper pool. Daniel could always skip stones farther than me. Show me how, Lily demanded, tugging at his sleeve. Logan found a suitable stone and demonstrated the proper grip, the flick of the wrist. Lily's first attempts plunked straight into the water, but she persisted with fierce determination that reminded Logan painfully of his brother. Like this? She asked for the 10th time, her small face scrunched in concentration. Almost, Logan said. Try again. On her next throw, the stone skipped once before sinking. Lily jumped in triumph, her curls bouncing in the sunlight. I did it! You're a natural, Logan told her, and meant it. Claire watched them from her perch on a fallen log, something wistful in her expression. When Logan caught her eye, she smiled, but there was a guardedness there that hadn't been present before their conversation last night. They spent the remainder of the afternoon by the creek, Logan teaching Lily the names of wildflowers and birds, showing her how to spot deer tracks in the soft mud near the water's edge. By the time they headed back to the ranch, the shadows were long, and Lily was yawning despite her protests that she wasn't tired at all. That night, they stayed in the main house again, though the forecast promised clear skies. Neither Claire nor Logan acknowledged this departure from necessity, this choice to share space when there was no practical reason to do so. After Lily was asleep, they sat on the porch, watching stars appear one by one in the vast Wyoming sky. A comfortable silence stretched between them, broken only by the occasional snuffle from Rusty, who lay at their feet. The mechanic called while you were showing Lily the workshop, Claire said finally. He thinks the truck might be ready Thursday instead of Friday. Logan nodded, unsure why this news settled like a stone in his stomach. That's good. Yes, Claire agreed, but her tone lacked conviction. California, Logan said after another silence. That's a long drive in a truck with a rebuilt transmission. Claire sighed softly. I know, but the job is a good one. Housing included. Fresh start. Running's not always the answer, Logan said, immediately regretting the words when he saw Claire stiffen. Sometimes it's the only option, she replied, a new edge to her voice. Logan turned to face her fully in the dim porch light. I didn't mean it like that. Just, there are other options. Maybe. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them, a possibility neither was ready to voice. It's getting late, Claire said, standing abruptly. Thank you for today. Lily had a wonderful time. Logan watched her disappear into the house, cursing his clumsy words, his inability to express the thoughts tumbling through his mind. Wednesday dawned clear and warm. Logan rose before the sun, restless after a night of fitful sleep. He found himself in the barn, checking on the pregnant mare, when he heard small footsteps behind him. "Is the baby horse coming soon?" Lily asked, startling him. Logan turned to find her in the barn doorway, still in her borrowed pajamas, hair tousled from sleep. "Not for a few more weeks," he answered. "What are you doing up so early?" Lily shrugged, approaching cautiously. "I heard you leave. Can I help?" Something about the earnestness in her voice made Logan's chest tighten. "Sure. Want to help me feed the horses?" Lily nodded eagerly, and soon they settled into a comfortable rhythm. Logan measuring out grain, Lily carrying small buckets to each stall under his supervision. She chattered as they worked, asking questions about each horse, soaking up Logan's answers like parched earth in rain. "Which one was my dad's favorite?" she asked as they finished the morning feeding. The question caught Logan off guard. "A palomino named Sundance," he answered after a moment. "Flashy horse. Loved to run." "Like my dad," Lily said wisely. Logan glanced down at her, surprised by the insight. "Yes. Like your dad." When they returned to the house, Claire was in the kitchen, making coffee. She raised an eyebrow at the sight of them, hay-dusted and companionable. "Early risers, both of you," she commented. "We fed the horses," Lily announced proudly. "All 15 of them." "Impressive," Claire said, smiling despite the worry that lingered in her eyes. After breakfast, Logan had work to do, a custom saddle that needed finishing for a client in Jackson. To his surprise, Lily asked if she could watch him work. Even more surprising was his own response. "Sure, if you promise to sit quiet and not touch anything sharp." The workshop, a converted shed behind the main house, was Logan's sanctuary, a place of leather and tools and concentration. He rarely allowed visitors, but something about Lily's solemn promise to be careful disarmed his usual reticence. She proved true to her word, perching on a stool in the corner, watching with uncharacteristic stillness as Logan worked the leather. Occasionally she would ask a question in a whisper, as if afraid to break his concentration. "Is it hard?" she asked, as he tooled an intricate pattern into the saddle's fender. "Takes practice," Logan replied, hands never stopping their careful work. "My father taught me. His father taught him. Could you teach me someday?" The innocence of the question, the assumption of future time together, made Logan's hands falter momentarily. "If your mother says it's okay," he answered carefully. Lily nodded, satisfied with this conditional promise. "Mom says you make the prettiest saddles in Wyoming." Logan glanced up, surprised. "She said that?" "Uh-huh. She was talking to Mrs. Peterson at the general store yesterday when you were buying nails." Logan returned to his work, a strange warmth spreading through his chest. Claire had been noticing his craft, talking about it to others. The thought pleased him more than it should. They worked through the morning. Logan crafting, Lily watching. Around noon, Claire appeared with sandwiches and lemonade, insisting they take a break. "You two have been out here for hours," she said, setting the food on Logan's workbench. "Lily, I've never seen you sit still for so long." "I'm learning," Lily said importantly. "Logan says maybe he can teach me someday." Claire's eyes met Logan's over Lily's head. Something unreadable flashed in their depths before she looked away. "That's nice of him," she said lightly. "But remember, we're leaving soon." Lily's face fell. "Do we have to?" The question hung in the air, heavy with implications none of them were ready to address. "We've talked about this," Claire said gently. "The job in California, remember? By the ocean." "I don't care about the ocean," Lily muttered. "I like it here." Claire's expression tightened slightly. "Eat your lunch, please." That afternoon, Claire seemed distant, preoccupied. She helped with ranch chores mechanically, her thoughts clearly elsewhere. When Logan asked if everything was all right, she gave him a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Just thinking about the drive ahead. It's a long way to California. Logan wanted to say more, to offer. What? He wasn't sure himself. Before he could find the right words, Marshall Townsend arrived with a trailer full of hay. Thought you might need some extra, the older man explained, casting a curious glance at Claire. Weather Service says we might have an early winter this year. Logan helped unload the hay, grateful for the distraction from his troubled thoughts. Marshall, never one to mind his own business, peppered him with questions about his visitors while they worked. Pretty woman, he observed casually. Got a look of steel about her, though. Been through something, I'd wager. They're just passing through, Logan said firmly. Marshall snorted. That little girl looks at you like you hung the moon, Hayes. Don't tell me you haven't noticed. Logan had noticed. That was the problem. After Marshall left, Logan found Claire in the garden behind the house, picking tomatoes from the small plot he maintained, more out of habit than necessity. Need help, he offered. She shook her head, not meeting his eyes. Just keeping busy. The mechanic called again. Truck will definitely be ready tomorrow. That's good, Logan said, the words tasting false on his tongue. Claire straightened, basket half full of ripe tomatoes. Yes, we should get on the road. We've already stayed longer than planned. Logan leaned against the fence post, studying her. What's really bothering you, Claire? She looked up then, eyes troubled. Lily. The way she's getting attached. To this place. To you. Is that so bad? Claire set the basket down with more force than necessary. Yes, when we're leaving. When this isn't real life. It could be, Logan said, the words escaping before he could stop them. Claire stared at him, color rising in her cheeks. What are you saying, Logan? He hadn't planned this, hadn't even fully acknowledged the thoughts forming in his own mind until this moment. But now, standing in the golden afternoon light, the words seemed to find themselves. Stay. Not forever, if you don't want to. But longer than tomorrow. Give us time to figure out what this is. This? Claire echoed. You, me, Lily. Whatever's happening here. Claire shook her head slowly. We barely know each other. I know you're strong. I know you're a good mother. I know you understand horses and hard work. Logan took a step closer. I know I haven't felt this awake in years. Emotion flashed across Claire's face. Longing, fear, uncertainty. Logan, I can't just change our plans on a whim. The job in California. Will it make you happy? He interrupted. Really happy? Claire's silence was answer enough. Just think about it, Logan said more gently. That's all I'm asking. Before she could respond, Lily's voice called from the house. Mom, Logan, come quick. Rusty found something. The moment broken, they hurried to the house, where Lily was hopping with excitement on the porch, Rusty sitting proudly beside what appeared to be an old boot. Look what Rusty dug up, she exclaimed. Is it treasure? Logan laughed, despite the tension still thrumming through him. Not exactly. That's one of my old work boots. Been missing for months. Lily's face fell in disappointment. Oh, I thought it was something special. Special enough to me, Logan said, ruffling her hair. Good job, Rusty. The dog wagged his tail, pleased with the praise. As Logan bent to examine the mud-caked boot, he noticed Claire watching him, her expression thoughtful. Dinner that night was a quiet affair. Lily chattered about the day's adventures, but the adults spoke little, each lost in their own thoughts. After Lily was asleep, Logan expected Claire to join him on the porch, as had become their habit, but she retreated to the guest room with a murmured goodnight. Logan sat alone under the stars, Rusty, his only company, wondering if he'd overstepped, ruined whatever fragile connection had been forming between them. The thought of the empty ranch after they left tomorrow made his chest ache in a way he hadn't expected. Morning came too soon. Logan rose at dawn, moving through his chores with mechanical efficiency, trying not to think about the day ahead. He was in the barn when Claire found him, her expression resolute. "We'll be leaving after breakfast," she said without preamble. The mechanic called. "The truck is ready." Logan nodded, unable to trust his voice. "I want to thank you," Claire continued, "for everything. Your generosity has meant more than I can say." "You don't have to thank me," Logan said roughly. "Like I said, Lily's family." Claire hesitated, then stepped closer. "About what you said yesterday." "Forget it," Logan interrupted. "It was presumptuous." "No," Claire said softly. "It was kind and tempting. But I need to do what's best for Lily in the long run." Logan wanted to argue that staying might be exactly that, but he held his tongue. Who was he to tell this woman what was best for her child, a man who'd lived alone for years, who'd failed to save his own brother? "I understand," he said instead. Breakfast was a somber affair. Despite Lily's continued chatter, she seemed oblivious to the tension between the adults, excited about the prospect of seeing the mechanic's shop in town. "And then we're going to California," she announced, spearing a piece of pancake, "to see the ocean." "That's right," Claire confirmed, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. After breakfast, they loaded their single suitcase into Logan's truck. The plan was for him to drive them into town to pick up their repaired vehicle. Claire insisted on leaving money for their stay, pressing a small envelope into Logan's hand despite his protests. "Please," she said firmly. "We pay our debts." The pride in her voice was so familiar, so reminiscent of Daniel, that Logan couldn't argue further. He pocketed the envelope without counting the contents. Lily was unusually quiet during the drive to town, her stuffed horse clutched tightly to her chest. When they arrived at the mechanic's shop, her lower lip began to tremble. "I don't want to go," she whispered as Logan parked the truck. Claire unbuckled her seatbelt with determined movements. "Lily, we've talked about this. California will be an adventure. Remember? The ocean, the new horses at the breeding stable." "I don't want new horses," Lily said, her voice rising. "I want Penny and Rusty and—" Her eyes filled with tears as she looked at Logan. "I don't want a new place. I want to stay here." Claire closed her eyes briefly, pain etched on her face. "Lily, please, not now. It's not fair," Lily cried, tears spilling over. "We just found Uncle Logan, and now we have to leave him too." The words hung in the air, raw and honest in the way only children can be. Uncle Logan. He'd never heard the title spoken aloud before. It struck him like a physical blow right in the center of his chest. Claire reached for her daughter, but Lily twisted away, burying her face in her stuffed horse. "I hate California. I hate moving all the time. I just want to stay in one place." Logan sat frozen, unsure how to help, how to ease this pain he'd inadvertently become part of. Claire met his eyes over Lily's head, her own glistening with unshed tears. "Could you give us a minute?" Logan nodded, stepping out of the truck into the warm morning sunlight. The mechanic's shop was busy, customers coming and going. Normal life continuing while his own felt suspended in this moment of unexpected grief. He leaned against the truck, watching through the window as Claire spoke earnestly to Lily, wiping tears from her daughter's cheeks. The little girl nodded occasionally, hiccuping softly as her sobs subsided. Finally, they both emerged from the truck, Lily's face tear-stained but calmer. She wouldn't meet Logan's eyes, staring instead at her scuffed sneakers. "Let's see about your truck," Logan said, keeping his voice steady. The mechanic, a grizzled man named Pete, whom Logan had known for years, led them to the repaired pickup. It looked marginally better than when they'd arrived at the ranch, but Logan couldn't help noticing the worn tires, the rust beginning to eat at the wheel wells. "Did what I could with the transmission," Pete explained. "Should hold up, but I wouldn't push it too hard on mountain roads." Claire nodded, settling the bill with carefully counted bills from her wallet. Logan watched, noting how few remained after the transaction. California was a long way, with mountain passes and desert stretches between here and there. "Thank you," Claire told Pete, pocketing her receipt. "We appreciate the quick work." As Pete returned to the shop, an awkward silence fell between them. This was it. The moment of goodbye. Logan found himself searching for the right words. Something meaningful to say to the niece he'd just found. The woman who had somehow awakened his quiet life. "Well," he began inadequately. "Drive safe." Claire nodded, keys clutched tightly in her hand. "We will." Lily stood between them, still clutching her stuffed horse, eyes downcast. Suddenly she lunged forward, wrapping her arms around Logan's waist in a fierce hug. "Thank you for teaching me about horses," she mumbled into his shirt. Logan knelt down, bringing himself to her level. "You're welcome, Lily. You're a natural with them." She looked up then, blue eyes so like Daniel's it made his heart ache. "Mom says maybe we can visit someday, when we're settled." Logan glanced at Claire, who gave a small nod. "That would be nice," he said, though they all knew the likelihood of such a visit was slim. California was a different world, and once they disappeared into it, the connection would fade like morning mist in sunshine. "Take care of Penny and Rusty," Lily instructed seriously. "Tell them I said goodbye." "I will," Logan promised, his throat tight. He stood, turning to Claire. She hesitated, then stepped forward to embrace him briefly. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." Then they were getting into the old pickup, Lily's small face pressed against the passenger window, Claire's hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. Logan watched as they pulled away, dust rising behind them on the road that would take them out of town, toward the interstate, toward California, and a future he wouldn't be part of. The sound of the truck's engine faded, leaving Logan standing alone in the mechanic's lot, an emptiness expanding in his chest that felt both familiar and entirely new. Pete emerged from his shop, wiping his hands on a rag. "Nice family," he commented. "Shame they're just passing through." "Yeah," Logan agreed, unable to say more. He drove home in silence, the passenger seat empty beside him. The ranch, when he arrived, seemed unnaturally quiet. Even Rusty sensed the change, whining softly as he searched the yard and house for the visitors who had suddenly vanished. Logan moved through the rest of the day in a fog, completing chores with mechanical precision, trying not to notice the small signs of Lily and Claire's brief presence. A child's drawing magnetized to his refrigerator, a forgotten hair ribbon on the porch railing, the guest cabin with its neatly made bed and lingering scent of Claire's borrowed shampoo. By evening, a hollow acceptance had settled over him. This was how it had always been. People left. His mother to illness, his father to drink, Daniel to the rodeo, and ultimately to death. Logan remained, tending the land, preserving what others abandoned. He was in the barn, checking on the pregnant mare one last time before turning in, when he heard it, the distinctive sputter of a familiar engine. Logan stepped outside, not daring to hope, as headlights swept up the driveway. The old pickup truck rolled to a stop, engine knocking ominously before Claire shut it off. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the passenger door opened, and Lily tumbled out, running toward him with her stuffed horse clutched in one hand. "We came back," she cried, flinging herself at him. "Mom said we could stay." Logan caught her automatically, looking over her head at Claire, who emerged more slowly from the truck. Her expression was a mix of uncertainty and determination. "The transmission gave out again 10 miles west of town," she explained, approaching cautiously. "Pete says it's beyond repair this time." "I'm sorry," Logan said, meaning it despite the hope blooming treacherously in his chest. Claire twisted her hands together. "We could get the bus tomorrow. There's one that goes through to Salt Lake City." Lily's arms tightened around Logan's waist. "Mom, please," she whispered. "Please, can we stay?" Claire looked at her daughter, then at Logan, something vulnerable and fierce in her eyes. "That depends on Logan." "You know you're both welcome here," Logan said carefully. "For as long as you need." Claire took a deep breath. "That's just it. I've been thinking about what you said yesterday. About staying not just temporarily, but—" She trailed off, searching for words. "For real?" Logan supplied softly. She nodded. "I called the stable in California. Told them I wouldn't be coming after all." Logan's heart skipped a beat. "What about your fresh start?" "Maybe we've already found it," Claire said simply. "If the offer still stands." Logan looked down at Lily, still clinging to him, then back to Claire. The setting sun painted them in golden light, framed against the mountains that had been his only constant companions for so long. "The offer stands," he said, his voice rough with emotion. For as long as you want it. Lily looked up, hope shining in her eyes. Forever? Logan met Claire's gaze over her daughter's head. That's up to your mom. Claire stepped closer. Close enough that Logan could see the flecks of gold in her brown eyes, the small scar above her left eyebrow he'd never noticed before. I think, she said softly, that forever sounds like a good place to start. As the three of them walked toward the house, Rusty dancing excitedly around them, Logan felt something shift inside him, like a door long rusted shut finally opening wide, letting in light and air and possibility. They had much to figure out, many conversations ahead, a relationship to build slowly and carefully. But for now, this was enough. This second chance, this family pieced together from broken parts, stronger at the seams where they'd been mended. The days unfolded into a new rhythm. Tentative at first, like dancers learning unfamiliar steps. Logan cleared space in closets and drawers, making room for the few possessions Claire and Lily had brought with them. Claire insisted on contributing cooking meals, tending to the horses, helping with ranch chores in ways that quickly became indispensable. 2 weeks after their decision to stay, Logan found himself watching Claire in the corral, working with a skittish yearling that had resisted his own training attempts. Her movements were patient, assured, the mare responding to her gentle persistence in ways that impressed even Logan. You have a gift, he told her later as they sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint the mountains in shades of gold and purple. Claire smiled, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. My father raised quarter horses, not many, but good bloodlines. I grew up learning their language. You never mentioned that before. She shrugged, looking out at the darkening landscape. There's a lot we don't know about each other yet. The statement hung between them. Not an accusation, just a simple truth. They were building something, day by day, but the foundation was still new, the structure undefined. That night, after Lily was asleep in what they now called her room, Claire found Logan in his study, working on sketches for a new saddle design. I had a call today, she said, leaning against the doorframe. From a breeding stable in Sheridan. They're looking for someone with experience in foaling and early training. Logan set down his pencil, giving her his full attention. That's not far. Hour's drive, maybe. No, Claire agreed. Not far at all. Are you interested? She nodded, a hint of excitement in her eyes. The pay is good, and it would be my own money, not... She trailed off, but Logan understood. Not charity. Not dependence. You should take it, he said simply. If it's what you want. Relief flashed across her face. You don't mind? With Lily, and the schedule would mean some weekends. We'll figure it out. Logan interrupted gently. This is your home now, both of you. But that doesn't mean you can't have your own work, your own life. Claire studied him for a long moment, something softening in her expression. Thank you. For understanding. When would you start? Next month. They want me there for the spring foaling season. Logan nodded, already mentally rearranging his own schedule to accommodate the change. We'll make it work. Later that week, a letter arrived from Robert, Claire's ex-fiancé. Logan recognized the Denver return address, saw the way Claire's hands trembled slightly as she opened it. He's threatening legal action, she said after reading it, her voice tight. Claims I violated our rental agreement by leaving without proper notice. Says he'll take me to court if I don't pay what I owe. Logan fought down the anger rising in his chest. Is it true? About the rental agreement? Claire shook her head. My name wasn't on the lease. It was his apartment, but he's hoping I don't know that, or that I'll be scared enough to send money just to avoid trouble. Do you want me to call my lawyer? Robert Davis could... No, Claire interrupted firmly. I can handle Robert. I just need to be clear that I know my rights. She straightened her shoulders. I'll write back today. Logan watched her compose the letter at the kitchen table, her handwriting neat and determined. There was steel in this woman, the same quiet strength he'd noticed that first day when she stood at his gate with her chin held high despite her circumstances. That evening, as Lily helped Logan feed the horses, she asked the question he'd been half expecting for days. Are you my uncle for real now? Logan paused, measuring out grain. I've always been your uncle, Lily, since the day you were born. I just didn't know it. She nodded, considering this. But now you know it. And we live here. So are you like my dad now, too? The question caught him off guard despite his preparedness. No, honey, I'm your uncle. Your dad was Daniel, and no one can replace him. Lily's face fell slightly. But I never knew him, and Mom says he's in heaven now. Logan knelt down, bringing himself to her level. That's true, but he's still your dad. And it's important you know about him. Will you tell me? Mom doesn't talk about him much. Logan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. I'll tell you stories, when you're ready to hear them. Lily studied him seriously. I'm ready now. That night, after dinner, Logan found himself sitting on the edge of Lily's bed, telling her about Daniel as a boy. His fearlessness, his laugh that could fill a room, the way he could charm animals and people alike. He had the same color eyes as you, Logan told her, and that same determined look when he wanted something. Lily smiled sleepily. Was he good at skipping stones? The best, Logan assured her. Even better than me. From the doorway, Claire watched them, her expression a complex mixture of gratitude and something deeper, something Logan wasn't sure how to name. The days turned to weeks, the rhythm of their shared life becoming more natural. Claire began her job at the breeding stable, driving to Sheridan 3 days a week. Logan adjusted his schedule to be home when Lily returned from the small country school where they'd enrolled her. On weekends, the three of them worked together on ranch chores, explored the property, or made trips into town for supplies. It wasn't perfect. There were adjustments, misunderstandings, moments of tension when old habits clashed with new expectations. But beneath it all ran a current of something steady and growing, a foundation being built stone by careful stone. One crisp October morning, Logan found himself at the kitchen table with Marshall Townsend discussing winter grazing plans. The older rancher kept glancing toward the window, where Lily could be seen playing with Rusty in the yard. Never thought I'd see the day, Marshall commented, sipping his coffee. Logan Hayes with a family. Logan followed his gaze. Neither did I. Suits you, Marshall said bluntly. Both of you. She's a good woman, Claire. Strong. Yes, Logan agreed simply. She is. Marshall set down his mug. Town's talking, you know. Wondering about your arrangement here. Logan stiffened slightly. It's no one's business but ours. Agreed, Marshall said, raising a placating hand. But you might want to consider making things more official. For the girl's sake, if nothing else. Before Logan could respond, Claire entered from the back porch, cheeks flushed from the cold. Morning, Marshall. More coffee? The conversation shifted to safer topics. Cattle prices, weather forecasts, local gossip. But Marshall's words lingered in Logan's mind long after the older man had departed. That night, after Lily was asleep, Logan found Claire on the porch, wrapped in a blanket against the autumn chill. Without speaking, he settled beside her on the swing, their shoulders just touching. Marshall said something today, he began carefully. About our situation. Claire tensed almost imperceptibly. What about it? People in town are talking, wondering about us living here together. A small sigh escaped her. I was afraid of that. Small towns have long memories and longer tongues. Does it bother you? What they might be saying? Claire was quiet for a long moment, considering. Not for myself, but for Lily. Children can be cruel sometimes, if they hear things from their parents. Logan nodded, understanding her concern. Marshall suggested we might want to make things more official. The words hung in the night air between them, laden with meaning neither of them had directly addressed in the months since Claire and Lily had returned to the ranch. Logan, Claire began carefully. Are you saying? I'm not proposing, he interrupted quickly. Not exactly. Not unless. He trailed off, suddenly uncertain. Claire turned to face him fully, her expression serious in the dim porch light. We've known each other less than 6 months. I know. And we're still learning how to be a family, whatever that means for us. I know that too. She studied him, her eyes searching his face. "But," Logan took a deep breath, "but I care about you, Claire, and Lily. More than I thought possible. And I want to do right by both of you." A small smile touched her lips. Is this the Wyoming cowboy version of romance? The tension broke, Logan chuckling despite himself. I reckon it might be. Never claimed to be good with words. Claire's hand found his in the darkness. "You're better than you think." She was quiet for a moment, then added, "I care about you too, Logan, but marriage it's a big step. Especially for Lily." "I know," Logan agreed. "And I'm not pushing. Just thinking about the future. Our future, if you want that." "I do," Claire said softly. "Want that. But maybe we can take it slow. Give ourselves time to be sure." Relief and something warmer flooded through him. "We've got all the time we need." Claire leaned against him then, her head resting on his shoulder as they gazed out at the star-filled sky. No more words were needed, just this quiet understanding, this promise of possibility. November brought the first snow, turning the ranch into a wonderland of white that had Lily squealing with delight. School was canceled, and Logan found himself drafted into snowman building duty, then impromptu sledding on the gentle slope behind the barn. "Watch me, Uncle Logan," Lily called, pushing off from the top of the hill on the old wooden sled he'd found in the attic. The same one he and Daniel had used as boys. "Be careful." Claire called from where she stood, wrapped in a thick jacket, her breath clouding in the cold air. Logan moved to stand beside her as Lily sped down the hill, her laughter trailing behind her like a banner. "She's fearless," he observed. "Like her father," Claire said softly. Their eyes met, a moment of shared understanding passing between them. This child who connected them, this living legacy of the brother Logan had lost. "Thank you," Claire said suddenly, "for telling her stories about Daniel, for keeping him alive for her." Logan nodded, unable to speak past the sudden tightness in his throat. Claire's gloved hand slipped into his, a silent comfort. A shared grief transformed into something new. That evening, as they sat before the fireplace, Lily suddenly asked, "Can I call you Dad?" The question, directed at Logan, fell into a moment of quiet like a stone into still water. Claire froze, mug halfway to her lips. Logan stared at Lily, her expression earnest in the firelight. "I know you're my uncle," she continued seriously, "but Jennifer at school has a stepdad that she calls Dad. And you take care of me like a dad. And—" She trailed off, suddenly uncertain in the face of their silence. Logan glanced at Claire, seeking guidance, but her expression was carefully neutral, leaving the decision to him. "Lily," he began carefully, "I'm honored that you would want to call me that. But your dad was my brother, and he'll always be your real father." Disappointment clouded her face. "But I never knew him." "I know, honey, and that's hard." Logan reached out, tucking a curl behind her ear. "How about this? You can call me whatever feels right to you. Uncle Logan, or if you want to call me Dad someday, that would be okay too, but only when you're really ready, not just because your friend Jennifer does it." Relief washed over Lily's face. "So maybe someday?" "Maybe," Logan agreed, catching Claire's eye over Lily's head. The gratitude in her expression made his heart swell. Later, after Lily was asleep, Claire found Logan in the kitchen, staring out at the moonlit snow. "You handled that beautifully," she said softly. Logan shook his head. "I wasn't prepared for that question." "None of us ever are," Claire replied, moving to stand beside him. "But you gave her exactly what she needed, honesty and room to figure it out for herself." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching snowflakes begin to fall again outside the window. "It's strange," Claire said finally, "how life works out. A year ago, I was engaged to a man I thought would give Lily stability, even though something always felt wrong. Now, here we are, in a place I never expected to be, with a man I never expected to meet." Logan turned to face her fully. "Regrets?" "Not one," Claire said firmly. "You?" Instead of answering, Logan leaned forward, his hand gently cradling her cheek as he kissed her. Not their first kiss, but perhaps their most honest one, unhurried and full of promise. When they broke apart, Claire's eyes remained closed for a moment, a small smile playing at her lips. "Definitely no regrets," she whispered. December brought holiday preparations that transformed the ranch house. Logan found himself dragging a pine tree from the back acreage, wrestling it into the living room, while Lily danced around him with excitement. Claire unearthed boxes of ornaments from the attic, delicate glass balls and handmade decorations that hadn't seen light in years. "My mother made these," Logan explained, carefully unwrapping a star fashioned from tarnished silver wire. Every Christmas, she'd add a new one to the collection. Lily handled each ornament with reverence. "They're beautiful." As they decorated the tree, Logan shared stories of Christmases past. His mother's cinnamon rolls on Christmas morning, his father reading the nativity story by firelight, snowball fights with Daniel that inevitably ended with someone crying and someone laughing. "What about your Christmas traditions?" he asked Claire as they strung lights around the pine boughs. A shadow crossed her face. "We moved around a lot after James died. Christmas was simple. This year will be different," Logan promised quietly. And it was. The house filled with the scent of baking cookies. Carols played on the old record player, presents accumulated beneath the tree, some store-bought, others handmade in secret workshops behind closed doors. Marshall and his wife joined them for Christmas Eve dinner, bringing wine for the adults and a handcrafted rocking horse for Lily that had her speechless with delight. "Made it for my granddaughter," Marshall explained gruffly. "She's outgrown it now. Thought it might find good use here." On Christmas morning, Logan woke before dawn, the house quiet around him. He slipped from bed, careful not to wake Claire, who had fallen asleep beside him after they'd played Santa late into the night. Their relationship had progressed, naturally, unhurriedly, each step taken with careful consideration of what it meant for all three of them. In the kitchen, he started coffee and his mother's cinnamon rolls, working from memory and the faded recipe card he'd found tucked in an old cookbook. He was so absorbed in the task that he didn't hear Claire enter until her arms slipped around his waist from behind. "Merry Christmas," she murmured, resting her cheek against his back. Logan turned in her embrace. "Merry Christmas." She looked up at him, sleep-tousled and beautiful in the soft kitchen light. "I have something for you. Before Lily wakes up." Claire disappeared into the bedroom, returning with a small, carefully wrapped package. Logan wiped his hands on a towel before accepting it, curious at her suddenly nervous expression. Inside the wrapping paper was a hinged wooden box, simply but beautifully crafted. And inside the box, nestled on a bed of velvet, lay a pocket watch, old, silver, the case engraved with intricate scrollwork. "It was James's," Claire explained quietly. "His grandfather's before that. I've been keeping it for Lily, for when she's older, but I wanted you to have it now." Logan lifted the watch carefully, feeling the weight of its history. "Claire, I can't accept this. It should stay in your family." "That's just it," she said, her eyes steady on his. "You are family now. You, me, Lily. We're making our own family, and I want you to have something that honors that." Logan opened the watch. Inside the cover, Claire had placed a tiny photograph, Lily between them, all three smiling in the summer sunlight. The simple gesture, the meaning behind it, left him momentarily speechless. "Turn it over," Claire urged softly. On the back, freshly engraved, were the words, "For the time we've found, C and L." "It's perfect," Logan said, his voice rough with emotion. "Thank you." They were interrupted by the sound of running feet, Lily, awake and ready for Christmas morning to begin. The moment shifted, but the feeling remained, a warmth that carried them through the day of presents and food and laughter. That evening, with Lily finally asleep amid a sea of new treasures, Logan and Claire sat before the dying fire, content in shared silence. "I've been thinking about what Marshall said," Logan said finally, "about making things official." Claire looked up from her book. "Oh?" "Not right away," he clarified, "but someday. When we're all ready." A slow smile spread across Claire's face. "I think we might be getting closer to ready than we were." Logan reached for her hand, twining their fingers together. "No rush, we've got time." Yes, Claire agreed, squeezing his hand. All the time we need. January brought bitter cold and a letter from Robert. Another threat, this time more specific. He claimed to be consulting lawyers about Lily's custody, citing Claire's unstable living situation and pattern of erratic behavior. Logan found Claire at the kitchen table, the letter crumpled in her fist, tears of anger and fear in her eyes. "He can't do this," she said when Logan read the letter. "He has no claim to Lily. He's not her father, was never even her stepfather." "No," Logan agreed, fury building in his chest. "But he can make trouble, cost us money and legal fees, drag this out." Claire pressed her palms against her eyes. "This is exactly what I was running from. Why can't he just let us go?" Logan sat beside her, taking her hands in his. "We'll call Robert Davis tomorrow. Get ahead of this." "We can't afford a long legal battle, Logan." "We can afford whatever we need to protect Lily," Logan said firmly. "The ranch isn't fancy, but it's paid for. We have savings." Claire looked at him, startled by the "we" in his statement. "Logan, I can't ask you to—" "You're not asking," he interrupted gently. "I'm offering. We're a family now, remember? Your battles are my battles." The next day, they drove to Helena to meet with Robert Davis, the lawyer who had helped Logan with water rights issues years before. The older man listened carefully to their situation, taking detailed notes. "Legally, he doesn't have a leg to stand on," Davis said finally. "He's not biologically related to Lily, was never married to you, never adopted her. But that doesn't mean he can't cause trouble." "What do you recommend?" Logan asked. Davis tapped his pen thoughtfully. "First, I'll send a cease and desist letter. Make it clear that any further harassment will result in legal action from our side." "And if that doesn't work?" Claire asked. "Then we get more aggressive," Davis said simply. "But there's another option you might consider." He looked between them. "If you two were married, it would strengthen your position considerably. A stable home with two parents, one of whom is the child's biological uncle." Claire and Logan exchanged glances, neither speaking. "Just something to consider," Davis added, closing his notepad. "No rush on that front. Let's start with the cease and desist and see where it takes us." The drive home was quiet, both lost in their own thoughts. It wasn't until they were nearly back to the ranch that Claire broke the silence. "He's right, you know, about marriage strengthening our position." Logan kept his eyes on the snowy road. "That's not a reason to get married." "No," Claire agreed. "It's not." Another silence fell, this one heavier with unspoken words. "If we were to consider it," Logan said carefully, "it would need to be for the right reasons. Because it's what we want, not just what's practical." Claire turned to look at him, her expression thoughtful. "And what do you want, Logan Hayes?" He pulled the truck to the side of the road, putting it in park before turning to face her fully. "I want you. And Lily. I want mornings and evenings and all the moments in between. I want arguments and makeups and growing old on that porch swing. I want forever, Claire, but only if that's what you want too." Tears filled her eyes, but she was smiling. "That sounds suspiciously like a proposal." "Maybe it is," Logan admitted. "Not how I planned it, but—" "Yes," Claire said simply. Logan blinked, not sure he'd heard correctly. Yes, I'll marry you. Not because of Robert or what people in town might say, or even for Lily, though she'll be overjoyed, but because I love you, Logan Hayes. Because somehow, in this crazy, unexpected journey, I found the home I've been looking for my whole life." Logan reached for her then, pulling her into a kiss that held all the words he couldn't quite find, promise and passion and certainty all at once. When they finally broke apart, Claire laughed softly. "We should get home. Mrs. Peterson is watching Lily." "One more thing first," Logan said, reaching into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a small velvet box. "I've been carrying this around for weeks, waiting for the right moment." Inside was a ring. Not large or flashy, but perfectly clear. A simple diamond flanked by two sapphires that matched Lily's eyes. "It was my mother's," Logan explained as he slipped it onto her finger. "If you'd prefer something else—" "It's perfect," Claire interrupted, admiring the way it caught the winter light. Absolutely perfect. That evening they told Lily over dinner, watching her face transform with joy as she understood what their news meant. "So you'll really be my dad?" she asked Logan, eyes shining. "For real?" Logan glanced at Claire, who nodded encouragingly. "If that's what you want to call me, then yes, for real." Lily launched herself into his arms, nearly knocking him from his chair. "I knew it," she whispered fiercely. "I knew we belonged here." Over her head, Logan's eyes met Claire's, seeing in them the same certainty he felt in his own heart. This unexpected family, formed from loss and chance and courage, had found their way home. Not to a place, but to each other. And in that moment, as snow fell gently outside and warmth filled the kitchen, Logan knew that some journeys end exactly where they're meant to. Not where you planned, but where you belong. February arrived with knee-deep snow and preparations for a spring wedding. Claire insisted on something simple, just family and close friends at the ranch, when the weather warmed enough for wildflowers to return to the meadows. Logan, who had never imagined himself planning a wedding, found himself surprisingly invested in the details, wanting everything to be perfect for Claire and Lily. One bright winter morning, Logan stood in his workshop, carefully crafting a special surprise, a child-sized saddle for Lily, designed to fit Buttercup, the gentle mare that had become her favorite. He was so absorbed in his work that he didn't hear the approach of a vehicle until Rusty's warning bark alerted him. Setting aside his tools, Logan stepped out of the workshop to find an unfamiliar black SUV pulling up beside the house. His first thought was of Robert, Claire's ex-fiancé, who had gone suspiciously quiet since their lawyer's cease and desist letter last month. Tension coiled in his chest as he crossed the yard, Rusty at his heels. A man emerged from the driver's side, tall, well-dressed in an expensive overcoat that looked out of place against the rugged Wyoming landscape. But it wasn't Robert. This man was older, with silver hair and features that triggered a flicker of recognition in Logan's mind. "Can I help you?" Logan called, stopping a few yards away. The stranger turned, studying Logan with eyes that seemed oddly familiar. "I'm looking for Claire Bennett. I was told she might be here." Logan's protective instincts surged. "Who's asking?" "William Bennett. I'm her father-in-law." The man extended his hand. "James's father?" Logan's surprise must have shown on his face because the older man added, "I take it she's mentioned me." "No," Logan admitted, accepting the handshake cautiously. "She hasn't." Something like pain flashed across William Bennett's features. "I see. Is she here?" "She's at work. In Sheridan." Logan hesitated, then added, "I'm Logan Hayes. Claire and I are engaged." William's eyebrows rose slightly. "Engaged?" "Well, that's unexpected." An awkward silence fell between them, broken only by Rusty's low whine of uncertainty. "Would you like to come in?" Logan finally offered. "She won't be back for a few hours, but you're welcome to wait." William nodded, retrieving a leather briefcase from the SUV before following Logan into the house. Inside, he looked around with unconcealed curiosity, taking in the comfortable but modest furnishings, the photographs now displayed on walls and shelves. New additions since Claire and Lily had made the ranch their home. "You have a beautiful place here," William commented, his tone neutral. "Thank you." Logan gestured toward the kitchen. "Coffee?" As Logan prepared the coffee, William remained standing, his attention caught by a photograph on the mantel. Lily on horseback, her face split by a wide grin, Logan standing beside her with a protective hand on the saddle. "Is that Lily?" William asked, his voice suddenly rough with emotion. Logan nodded. "From last summer." William moved closer to the photograph, studying it intently. She looked so much like James at that age. The same smile. Logan brought 2 mugs to the living room, setting them on the coffee table. "Please, sit. Tell me what brings you to Wyoming." William settled into an armchair, still clutching his briefcase like a lifeline. "I've been looking for them, Claire and Lily, for almost 2 years." After James died, things between us were strained. There were harsh words said at the funeral. Then they disappeared. Why look for them now? Logan asked, unable to keep the edge from his voice. Claire had never mentioned James's family, but her silence spoke volumes. William sighed heavily. Because I was wrong. About many things. And because Lily is my only grandchild, my last connection to James. He opened his briefcase, removing a thick envelope. And because of this. He handed the envelope to Logan, who opened it cautiously. Inside were legal documents. A trust fund established in Lily's name, with a substantial balance. James had a life insurance policy, William explained. I was the beneficiary, but the money was always meant for Lily's education, her future. I've been trying to find them to give it to them. Logan scanned the documents, noting the dates. The trust had been established shortly after James's death, not recently as he'd first suspected. Why didn't you find them sooner? Logan asked, returning the papers to the envelope. Claire is remarkably resourceful when she wants to disappear, William said, a hint of reluctant admiration in his tone. And I respected her desire for distance, for a while. But Lily deserves to know her father's family, to have the opportunities James would have wanted for her. Before Logan could respond, the front door opened, bringing a gust of cold air and the sound of childish laughter. Lily burst into the living room, cheeks flushed from the cold, backpack still on her shoulders. Mrs. Peterson had picked her up from school, as she did on days when both Claire and Logan were working. She stopped short at the sight of the stranger, moving instinctively closer to Logan. Hi, she said cautiously. William stood slowly, as if afraid of startling her. Hello, Lily. My name is William. I knew your father. Lily's eyes widened. My real dad? James? William nodded, his composure visibly shaken by the direct question. Yes, he was my son. Understanding dawned on Lily's face. So you're my grandpa? The simple question seemed to hit William like a physical blow. Yes, he managed. I am. Logan placed a protective hand on Lily's shoulder. Mrs. Peterson, would you mind staying a bit longer? I need to call Claire. The older woman, sensing the tension, nodded and guided Lily toward the kitchen, with promises of hot chocolate and cookies. Once they were out of earshot, Logan turned back to William. I'm going to call Claire now. She should be the one to decide how to handle this. William nodded, sinking back into the chair. Of course. I understand. Claire arrived home in record time, her truck skidding slightly on the snowy driveway in her haste. Logan met her on the porch, quickly explaining the situation. William Bennett is here? Now? Claire's voice was tight with disbelief and something that might have been fear. In the living room, Logan confirmed. Lily's with Mrs. Peterson in the kitchen. I thought you should talk to him first, decide how you want to handle this. Claire took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. What does he want? Logan explained about the trust fund, the apparent desire to reconnect with his granddaughter. He seems sincere, Claire, but that's your call to make, not mine. She nodded, gratitude flashing in her eyes. Thank you. For protecting her, for calling me. She reached for his hand, drawing strength from the contact. Come with me? Together, they entered the living room where William stood waiting, tension evident in every line of his body. Claire, he said simply. William. Her voice was cool, controlled. This is unexpected. I know. I should have called first, but I was afraid you wouldn't agree to see me. The honesty of the statement hung in the air between them. Claire didn't deny it. Why are you here, William, after all this time? He gestured to the envelope on the coffee table. Partly because of that. James left provisions for Lily. Money that's rightfully hers. Claire's expression hardened. We don't need your money. We're doing fine on our own. I can see that, William agreed, glancing around the comfortable room, his gaze lingering on Logan. But this isn't about need. It's about what James wanted for his daughter. A flicker of uncertainty crossed Claire's face. And the other reason? You said partly because of the money. William's composure cracked slightly. Because I miss them. James. Alice. Everyone's gone now except Lily. She's all that's left of my family." Claire was silent for a long moment, weighing his words against years of history Logan could only guess at. Finally she spoke. "You said terrible things at the funeral. About me not being good enough for James, about taking Lily back to Connecticut where she belonged." "I know," William acknowledged, his voice heavy with regret. "I was grieving, angry at the world for taking my son. But that's no excuse. I was wrong, Claire. About you, about what James would have wanted." Another silence, this one stretched taut with unresolved pain. "Lily asks about him sometimes," Claire said finally. "About James. I tell her what I can, but there are stories I don't know, parts of him I never got to see." Hope flickered in William's eyes. "I could tell her those stories, if you'd let me." Claire looked to Logan, a silent question in her eyes. He nodded slightly, supporting whatever decision she made. "Wait here," she said to William. "I need to talk to Lily first." In the kitchen, they found Lily at the table with Mrs. Peterson, drawing pictures with the new colored pencils she'd received for Christmas. "Lily, sweetie," Claire began gently. "The man in the living room is your grandfather. Your dad's father. He's come a long way to meet you." Lily looked up, her expression serious beyond her years. "Is he nice?" Claire hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "He loved your dad very much. And I think he'd like to get to know you too. Would that be okay with you?" Lily considered this, glancing from Claire to Logan. "Will he take me away?" The innocent question broke Logan's heart. Even now, after months of stability, Lily still carried the fear of being uprooted, separated from those she loved. "No, honey," Logan said firmly, kneeling beside her chair. "Nobody's taking you anywhere. This is your home, with your mom and me. Your grandfather is just visiting." Relief washed over Lily's face. "Then I want to meet him. Can I show him my horse drawings?" Minutes later, Lily entered the living room, clutching her sketchbook, still cautious, but curiosity overtaking fear. William's face transformed at the sight of her, years seeming to fall away from his features. "Hello again, Lily," he said, his voice gentle. "Your mother tells me you like to draw?" Lily nodded, approaching slowly. "I draw horses mostly. Logan's teaching me to ride a real one named Buttercup. May I see your drawings?" The ice-broken Lily settled beside her grandfather on the sofa, carefully turning pages of her sketchbook to show him her work. William made appropriately impressed comments, asking questions that drew Lily out of her shyness. Claire stood in the doorway watching them, her expression a complex mixture of emotions. Logan moved to stand beside her, his arms slipping around her waist in silent support. "Your father loved to draw too," William was telling Lily. "He used to sketch the boats in the harbor near our home in Connecticut." "Really?" Lily's eyes widened with this new connection to the father she'd never known. "Really. I have some of his drawings at home. I could send them to you if your mother agrees." Lily looked to Claire, hopeful. "Can he, Mom?" Claire nodded, her voice not quite steady. "Of course." The tension in the room gradually eased as the afternoon progressed. William stayed for dinner, accepting the invitation with visible gratitude. He produced a small, wrapped package for Lily, a silver charm bracelet that had belonged to his late wife. "Your grandmother would have wanted you to have it," he explained, as Lily examined the delicate charms with wonder. "She collected them from places she visited. There is room to add your own." Later, after Lily had gone to bed, the three adults sat at the kitchen table, the trust fund documents spread before them. William explained the details, how the money would be available for Lily's education, with additional funds released when she turned 25. "I'm not trying to interfere in your lives," he assured them. "I just want to do right by my granddaughter." Claire studied him across the table. "And what happens after tonight, William? You give her the money, show up once, then disappear again?" William shook his head. "I'd like to be part of her life, if you'll allow it. Visits, perhaps, when I'm able to travel. Letters, phone calls. I'm not looking to replace anyone, Claire. I know she has a family here. His gaze included Logan in this statement. A good one, from what I can see. Claire and Logan exchanged glances, a silent communication born of months of building trust and understanding. We'll need to think about it, Claire said finally. This is a lot to process in one day. William nodded, accepting this measured response. Of course. I'm staying in Sheridan for a few days. Take all the time you need. That night, after William had left for his hotel, Claire and Logan sat on the porch despite the cold, looking out at the star-filled sky. What are you thinking? Logan asked softly. Claire sighed, her breath clouding in the winter air. I'm thinking about second chances. About how people can change, or at least try to. Do you believe he's changed? She considered this. I don't know, but I believe he loves Lily in his way. And she deserves to know her father's family. Logan nodded, understanding. For what it's worth, I think you're right. But it's your decision, Claire. You're her mother. Claire turned to face him, moonlight silvering her features. No, it's our decision. You're going to be her father, Logan, in all the ways that truly matter. The words warmed him more than any fire could have. Then we'll figure it out together, like we do everything else. The following weeks brought cautious steps toward a new normal. William returned to Connecticut but called weekly, sending packages of photographs and mementos that helped fill in the missing pieces of James's life for Lily. Claire gradually relaxed her guard, allowing these connections to form while maintaining clear boundaries. Meanwhile, wedding plans progressed. Claire found a simple dress in Sheridan, Lily chose flowers for her basket as flower girl, and Logan surprised them both by learning to dance properly, with Marshall's wife as his patient teacher. Never thought I'd see the day, Marshall commented, watching Logan practice a waltz in his living room. Logan Hayes, settling down. Life takes unexpected turns, Logan replied, concentrating on not stepping on Mrs. Townsend's feet. That it does, the older man agreed, but this one suits you. As April arrived, bringing the first tentative green to the winter-brown landscape, Logan received a letter from Robert Davis, their lawyer. Claire's ex-fiancé Robert had finally backed down, formally retracting his threats regarding Lily's custody. It's really over, Claire said wonderingly when Logan showed her the letter. We're free. The relief in her voice made Logan realize how much this shadow had been weighing on her, even as she'd tried to hide it. We were always free, he told her, pulling her close. He never had any real claim. But yes, it's good to have it in writing. The wedding day dawned clear and perfect, early May, with wildflowers dotting the meadows just as Claire had hoped. They held the ceremony on the hillside overlooking the ranch, a simple arch decorated with spring blooms marking the spot where they would exchange vows. Logan stood waiting, more nervous than he'd ever been breaking wild horses, Marshall beside him as his best man. When Claire appeared, walking toward him with Lily preceding her, strewing flower petals with serious concentration, the sight took his breath away. She wore a simple white dress that caught the breeze, her dark hair adorned with a crown of wildflowers Lily had helped arrange. But it was her smile that transformed her, radiant, certain, filled with a joy that matched the expanding feeling in Logan's own chest. William Bennett sat in the small gathering of guests, his presence a testament to the healing that had begun. Mrs. Peterson dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief, while Pete the mechanic and his wife beamed from the second row. Even Rusty had been included, sporting a bow tie attached to his collar, sitting dutifully beside the makeshift altar. The ceremony was brief but heartfelt, the words they'd chosen together speaking of partnership, family, and the unexpected paths that lead to love. When the time came to exchange rings, Lily stepped forward, carefully carrying the small pillow bearing the bands they would wear. I have something to say, she announced unexpectedly, looking up at the surprised adults with determination. The minister, a friend of Marshall's from town, smiled encouragingly. Go ahead, Lily. She turned to face the small gathering, her voice clear in the spring air. I just want everyone to know that I'm really happy my mom found Logan. Because he's the best dad anyone could ask for, even though he wasn't my dad at first. And now we're going to be a real family forever. A ripple of emotion passed through the guests. Claire's eyes filled with tears. and Logan had to clear his throat before he could speak. "Thank you, Lily," he said softly. "That means the world to me." The rest of the ceremony passed in a blur of emotion, culminating in a kiss that sealed their promises to each other. As they turned to face their friends as husband and wife, Logan caught sight of Lily's face, her smile so wide it seemed to contain all the joy in the world. The celebration afterward was simple but perfect. Tables set up in the yard, food prepared by Mrs. Peterson and friends from town, music playing from speakers set up on the porch. As evening fell, lanterns were lit, casting a warm glow over the gathering. Logan found himself standing slightly apart, watching Claire dance with William in a moment of reconciliation that would have seemed impossible months ago. Lily twirled nearby, her flower crown slightly askew, laughing as Marshall's grandsons taught her a silly dance move. "Quite a family you've built here," Pete the mechanic commented, coming to stand beside Logan. Logan nodded, contentment filling him. "Not what I expected, but exactly what I needed." "Funny how life works out," Pete observed. "If that transmission hadn't given out when it did." The thought hung in the air. How easily this moment might never have happened. How many chance occurrences and choices had led to this perfect evening? Later, as the party wound down and guests began to depart, Logan found Lily sitting on the porch steps, yawning but determined to stay awake until the very end. "Tired, cowgirl?" he asked, settling beside her. She nodded, leaning against his side. "But happy." "Me too." Lily looked up at him, her expression suddenly serious. "You're really my dad now, aren't you, forever and ever?" Logan put his arm around her small shoulders. "Forever and ever," he confirmed. "No matter what." She considered this, satisfied. "That's good. Because I love you a whole lot." "I love you a whole lot too, Lily." The words came easily now, natural as breathing. Claire joined them, sitting on Lily's other side. "What are you two conspiring about?" "Just talking about forever," Logan told her, reaching across to take her hand. "Forever," Claire repeated, the word like a promise. "I like the sound of that." As night fell completely, stars appearing one by one in the vast Wyoming sky, the three of them remained on the porch steps, a family shaped by chance, choice, and love. Behind them, the ranch house glowed with warmth and light. No longer just Logan's solitary refuge, but a home filled with laughter, occasional tears, and the thousand small moments that weave a life worth living. In the distance, the horses moved peacefully in their pasture, and Rusty lay contentedly at their feet. The world seemed perfectly balanced in this moment, the past honored but not defining them, the future stretching bright with possibility before them. "She said, 'I don't want a horse, I want a dad,'" Logan murmured, remembering Lily's tears in the truck that day in town, months ago now but etched in his memory. "And you said, 'Stay, if that's what I can give,'" Claire finished for him, squeezing his hand. "Best decision we ever made," Logan said simply. Lily, drowsy against his side, mumbled her agreement. "The very best." Above them, a shooting star traced a brilliant path across the night sky. Not an ending, but a beginning. The story of a cowboy, a woman with courage enough to start over, and a little girl brave enough to know exactly what she needed. Three hearts finding home not in a place, but in each other. And in that moment, under the vast Wyoming sky, forever felt not just possible, but inevitable. As natural and right as the changing seasons, as enduring as the mountains that stood sentinel over the ranch, they now all called home. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us. The Wyoming wind whistled through the pine trees, carrying the scent of rain. Dawn painted the sky in watercolor strokes of pink and gold. Logan Hayes stood on his cabin porch, coffee mug warming his calloused hands, watching a battered pickup truck struggle up the mountain road toward his ranch. The vehicle wasn't familiar, and Logan wasn't expecting visitors. Something felt off. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. 300 acres of the Broken Arrow Ranch stretched before him, nestled in the foothills of the Grand Tetons. The land had been in his family for generations, but for the past 5 years, Logan had lived here alone. At 41, the solitude suited him fine, or so he told himself on the long winter nights when the silence grew too loud. The truck came to a sputtering stop at his gate. Logan set his coffee down, squinting against the morning light. A woman climbed out, slim and tired-looking, her dark hair pulled back in a hasty ponytail. She opened the passenger door, and a little girl emerged. Couldn't be more than 7 or 8, with wild blonde curls that caught the sunlight. The girl clutched a worn stuffed horse to her chest, eyes wide as she took in the vastness of the ranch. Logan made his way down the steps, his border collie Rusty, trotting at his heels. The woman approached the gate hesitantly. "Mr. Hayes," she called, her voice carrying on the wind. Logan nodded, his expression neutral. "Can I help you?" The woman twisted her hands together. "I'm Claire Bennett. This is my daughter, Lily." She hesitated, then added, "I knew your brother Daniel." At the mention of his brother's name, Logan stiffened. Daniel had been gone 3 years now, a rodeo accident that happened 2 states away. They'd never been close, but blood was blood, and the loss still ached like a badly healed break. "Daniel?" Logan repeated, studying the woman more carefully now. There was nothing familiar about her face. "Yes," Claire said. "We met in Colorado about 8 years ago." Logan's eyes drifted to the little girl, who was petting Rusty through the fence. The dog, usually wary of strangers, leaned into her touch. The math wasn't difficult. "I see," he said quietly. Claire straightened her shoulders. "I wouldn't be here if I had any other choice. But I'm in a situation, and Daniel always spoke of his brother's ranch in Wyoming. Said it was the most beautiful place on earth." "Daniel hadn't been here in 15 years, Logan said flatly. "Not since our father's funeral." A flash of uncertainty crossed Claire's face. "I didn't know that." The little girl, Lily, looked up then. "Is this where the horses live?" she asked, her voice small but clear. Despite himself, Logan's expression softened. "Some of them. Got 15 in the south pasture." Lily's eyes widened. 15 real horses? As real as they come. Claire placed a protective hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Our truck broke down twice on the way here. The mechanic in town said the transmission is shot. We need a place to stay while it's being fixed, just for a few days. I can work. I'm good with horses. That's how Daniel and I met. I was a stable hand at the rodeo." Logan looked from mother to daughter, noting the shadows under Claire's eyes, the threadbare quality of their clothes. His gaze caught on the small suitcase in the back of the truck. Loan enough for a short visit, or maybe all they had left. "There's a motel in town," he said, but without conviction. "We can't afford it," Claire admitted, chin raised with a pride that looked painfully familiar. Daniel had that same stubborn tilt to his jaw. Logan ran a hand through his graying hair. "The sensible thing would be to give them money for the motel, maybe help with the truck repairs. Keep his distance. Keep his peace." But the girl was looking at the horses in the distance, her eyes shining with a wonder that pierced straight through his defenses. "I've got a guest cabin," he found himself saying. "Nothing fancy, but it's clean." Relief washed over Claire's face. "We won't be any trouble." "Like I said, just a few days." Logan nodded, unlocking the gate. "Bring your truck up to the house. I'll show you where to park." As they drove slowly up the gravel drive, Logan wondered what he was getting himself into. 3 years of careful solitude disrupted by strangers with a connection to the brother he'd failed to save. But watching the little girl's face pressed against the window, drinking in the sight of the mountains and meadows, he felt something shift inside him, like a door long rusted shut creaking open just a fraction. The guest cabin sat 100 yards from the main house, a small one-bedroom structure his father had,